and welcome to Inside News. I'm Dale Matthews. I didn't hear a bink and I didn't get a thumbs up, but I believe that we're on the air, and so is Mike. Hello, Mike.
Yes, I wasn't paying attention there. Sorry about that. But Dale, we're on air.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Mike.
What is that on the screen back there, Dale? What is that?
Well, it's part of pattern recognition. Even when you're looking right at something, maybe it doesn't register. See if this helps. It's a bunny rabbit with its head sideways, a black and white bunny with its head sideways and tongue stuck out.
Yeah, unfortunately, I would have gotten that if my resolution was a little bit better. Unfortunately, one of these days, I will have a higher speed connection and I will see Dale as good as probably everybody else on the show sees him. And that's a sad story. But anyway, yes, that is a bunny. That bunny is saying something, I think, is very adamant about something.
Well, not only is it an Easter bunny, but it's a good indication of what we do on this show. We're not just showing you some videotape, but we're talking about what does this mean? What is the pattern? What is the message that we're getting from this? This message is, but there's more to it than that. It's even when you're looking right at something, it doesn't always fit within a pattern that you can recognize. And so that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. Mike and I made an agreement quite a while back that when we were doing the show and the election season came up, that we could look at candidates with the flashlight, but we're not going to look at them with the blowtorch. So while I don't mind lightly toasting their little tootsies, I'm not interested in blackening them because I don't like that kind of toast, the kind that you can break off and write on the wall with. No thanks. So on that topic, I'm not here to to pick any of these guys. We show you what's what, and then you make up your own mind here. I'm not here to influence you. The only candidates that I will say don't vote for are the ones that are in there already. Those, I think you can pretty well assume that I am not for those people. Right. Well, also one other thing, which is a little odd about the show and the way that we're doing it, is there's a couple of candidates where if you knew a whole lot more, they would not be happy. And so, but we're not going to talk about all that. All of that, people are sort of saying, I feel a little strange about that person. Well, there's probably a reason, but you're not going to hear that from us because they're running for office. And
I think they just did.
Yeah.
Well, the people are Googling as we speak,
Well, but first we're going to start with, as we've been doing every show, we're going to start with somebody that was at the Friday Inside News Candidates Forum, and there was some fireworks there. And so this candidate was kind of happy about being new without any record at all. Here's what Harriet Harris has to say.
I kind of feel good about being unknown. So, I'm Harriet Harris. I'm an outsider. Donald Trump would like that. I'm not in the political game. Hey, so because I'm an outsider, I've got the county charter here. I'm taking Saturday morning classes. I did not know that originally it was $30,000. In my campaign write-up, I'm saying that I'm going to give back 80% of my salary to nonprofits because I was in the military for 24 years. I was a Navy captain, and thank you very much. Great days. I credit my success with having found good people working for me. Any of you who were enlisted, you always said you worked for a living, you weren't an officer. Well, I was the one who found good enlisted guys, let them do what they were good at, and then took the credit for it. And I had a very successful career. And that's what I want to do in the county. Oh my gosh, there is so much energy, positive and negative. Last Wednesday at the Chamber of Commerce, what a high, so great. Then went to the commissioners meeting. What a low. So depressing. You know, do I know that there's lack of respect? I love the saying, find out, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. I tell you, Dale, if I'm elected, you're going to be on my hip here, and we're going to do everything together, because I pledge back 80% of my salary because I don't know everything. But there's so much knowledge and energy out there. I'm not going to deal with cannabis, but I want it to thrive. I want all the best. I want to get rid of the regulations that hurt commerce here. One of the things close to my heart, I can tell you that there are a lot of poor that need housing. We could get grants. We could get them off our streets, maybe reduce some crime, maybe make it more attractive for incoming business. These people give some stability to some families so that kids aren't wandering the streets with their parents, going from one house to another. Getting these people with their Social Security checks into some small place that they can afford. That's federal dollars coming back in here. Now, my good friend Bill Ertl over there, one, because he's Army and doesn't think Navy can have a good thought. He thinks I'm a pie in the sky kind of person. But I will tell you, one of my bosses back in the military days was a Marine colonel, and he gave me the nickname Harriet Beecher Stowe because I cared about people. But he also ranked me #1 of all of his officers because I got the job done. I could see things that needed to be done and get people to do them. And that's what I want to bring to this job, is to just put some of this energy into getting things done and having brainstorming sessions of a positive fervor, not the negative. And so, Harriet Harris, and I want to be commissioner, but I'll still be working in one sense, and maybe I'm undermining my candidacy here. I want to work to find solutions, not deal just with the problems that we see on the streets. I've been working with the poor, and oh my gosh, it's not the good time being poor that you might think it is. And I would love to see us. I loved Mark saying there are people who want to work. I am so tired of hearing people say that people don't want to work. There are jobs. If you can't afford the gas to get to the jobs, if you can't afford somebody to take care of your kids, you don't have the likelihood of taking a job. But anyway, Harriet Harris, County Commissioner, bring on the questions.
All right. Any questions for Harriet? Okay. Mark, come on up.
Yes, sir.
I want to compliment you for what you just said. You're the only candidate in this room, other than me, that has shown a compassion, okay? I don't know what else you stand for, but you seem like a very compassionate person, and I just want to compliment you for that. You're like coming out of nowhere. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Judy Ahrens. You know, most people, I've been here for 5 years, and I feel like people are confused when they're commissioners because they don't know who they represent, like even at the national level. And my quick question is, I know Mike's going to say something if I don't, is that what do you think the job as commissioner? Where do you think you stand on the organizational chart? We do have an organizational chart within the county, like the school board and everything. Where do you stand on? Do you understand where you stand on the organizational chart? And if you do, if you understand that really well, then where do you think, who's directing you? Is there people behind, or are you the one that are directing the county as far as representing the people? So we need to know that.
Thanks,
Okay.
Thanks, Judy.
So, quite honestly, I probably don't know that perfectly. I do know that the commissioners deal with the resources, but then, hey, the sheriff, who's another elected official, he gets to allocate those resources. So, you know, it's the sheriff that is putting the deputies or not putting the deputies here in Cave Junction. That's not the commissioners who are doing that. I know that they work with the department heads. I I know that's the day-to-day kind of thing, but it's working with the community and trying to get the what do I want to say, the roadblocks out of the way, and being open to hearing the people when they come and make suggestions. You know, I've heard the dam situation brought up. Damn that dam situation. But you know, I would not have fallen into that. I can appreciate those commissioners being afraid of the water quality, but when any problem comes, I'll be looking to see who else might be responsible for this and who else should be paying for this. I never would have taken it on my own, I don't think. Hindsight's always so incredibly clear. But I will guard every dollar, and I will ask a heck of a lot of questions. And I loved Mark Collier's comment about, you know, put it on Facebook, get some feedback. Oh my gosh, the hardest part of this so far for me is being in the 21st century technology and hiring teenagers to get me up on the web. But it is the 21st century. We can use technology. We don't have to have people walking door to door to get a consensus of what the folks feel out there.
Okay, one more. Is it
Sorry.
Paul?
The question I have, you said we need to focus in on the solutions instead of the problems. Now, if you don't focus in on the problems, how are you going to have to come up with solutions? We have to focus in on the problems. That sounds like a politically correct gobbledygook to me.
Thank you, Paul. I think the problems are walking our streets and hitting our pocketbooks every day. I think it's the solutions that are not quite as clear to us. So anyway, thank you for your time.
Harriet Harris.
Okay. I
that
tried to include as much of the applause at the end of each person as possible before Mike jumped in and brought on the next person.
Said, hey, knock it off.
That's
No
right.
applause. There will be no applause in this room.
Oh, man.
I'll
Except
shut
if
this
you're
thing
a county
down.
And if you're a county employee, then we want
Yes, then of course you can. Yes, of course, carte blanche.
I've been saying until just recently, we've been saying that the number one issue with picking candidates, we're a political show, is the first thing to think about is what is their stand on taxes, on property taxes. But there's something else that's come into play here besides credibility, and that is, it looks to me, and Mike's going to talk about this in a moment, I know he can, that there's actually a very strong movement afoot in both the Grants Pass City Council and in county government to actually stop you from being able to vote on things. Mike, you want to pick up that ball and run with it a little bit?
Well, I mean, to the degree that I can, I know that they're sick and tired of us saying no to giving them more money. I mean, that's it in a nutshell. And you know, the city, they're really mad about the sales tax thing. They would have loved for that to gone through because they want the extra money to do the little good deeds that they want to do. Great quote by in Catherine Austin's column here the other day about you know, beware of those who are they are tyrants who are looking out after your own good. That's really, you know, I don't think we need a whole lot of that, but we get a whole lot of that. And I know that that is the place that they come from to rationalize, at least with themselves, why they need all this money from us. And because, hey, we're just doing the good things that, you know, I mean, it's everybody should have these good things, you know, and there's no end, by the way, to the good things that ultimately government wants to do for you. Just if only they had enough money to do all the good deeds that, you know, I mean, no one should ever want for anything, you know, or need for anything. Government should be able to take care of that for you.
It's never going to be enough money.
Of course it isn't. Of course. I mean, that's the lesson that many of us from California have learned, is that it doesn't matter how high the tax is. There's always never enough money to pay for whatever it is. There's always, and
I got to tell you, when I first moved here, the economy was going great guns. And that's when they were hitting us up for school levies. They wanted to add, they wanted to add on to the tremendous amount that the schools already get from our property taxes. And I guess they, figured that's a dry hole here lately. They'll wait till the economy comes back before they hit us again on that. But I know that the city wants more money, and they're going to get some of the money that comes from the state for this, state of fiscal emergency. So that's why they're so on board with that and rabidly on board with that, working behind the scenes to facilitate that and to mitigate the bad effects on commissioners. Cheryl Walker. They don't want her to look bad. They just want her to get this thing done and get them some money. And so anyway, they ultimately they would love to just pass everything unilaterally, and we'll just have to take it because listen, I mean, what else do you do in a civilized society? You have to pay for services. I mean, for crying out loud, it's what you must do. I mean, it's we all want to be like Sweden. So,
well, 2 points. One is rapidly working behind the scenes is exactly what's happening in this illustration.
Yeah, rapidly, yes.
And the other thing is
that a rabid rabbit?
Yes. And what's really at stake here, in my opinion, is they just don't want you to vote. I mean, all you need to do is look at the city council that adds a fee onto your water bill for jail. Now, I understand there's, that jail is very handy to Grants Pass. They're not doing any better. They're not doing any better with their percentage of crime, are they? And that's a little strange. We'll talk about that too. But
yeah, that is odd.
But you don't get a chance to vote if you live in the city on whether or not they're going to raise your water bill. Now, why do you think they would raise your water bill and put that fee, which is really a tax, on there? Because you don't have any choice, and they don't want you to have any choice.
And by the way, this is a really good point. That fee is never, ever going away, ever. Okay, it may expire, but it'll be immediately renewed or renewed even before it expires. So that fee, they say is a temporary thing. It's never, ever going away because they don't want, that's $1 million that they're not getting anymore. Now that they're used to getting it, they're not going to. And it's always confused me a little bit because it's odd. They say, the chief said, we got all this money, so now we're going to go get certain people, take them to jail. Okay, so they did that, and then they ran the numbers and found out they were actually taking less people to jail than they were before. Wait a minute. Does that mean you need more jail bed money or less jail bed money? I'm not sure what that means, but apparently technique was a problem. So I don't understand what happened to the money. If they're taking less people to jail, are they paying for these things on an as-used basis, or are they paying for space whether they use it or not? I need to understand these things, because if indeed they got $1 million extra and now because of a change in technique, they're taking less people to jail, what's happening with the $1 million? Where's that money going?
I've heard both answers adamantly, that they're paying for jail beds whether they use them or not, and they're only paying for the jail beds that they use. But I can tell you what they said, and their latest last Monday was this next go round where they're going to get jail beds again is going to cost a lot less. What do you mean it's going to cost a lot less? Gee, I wonder
I bet it won't cost me a lot less. It may cost them a lot less, but it won't cost me a lot less. Right. I'll still be getting the same amount dinged on my water bill.
And the other thing too, going back to this thing about the results should indicate. I mean, it's like I have a feeling that I'm running out of gas, but you're not. But I have a feeling I've got a full gas tank, but you don't. So over in Jackson County, where a lot of people think we're crazy, I said to a couple of the media people there, if you really think that you've got the keys to the kingdom at $2.01 per thousand, why is it that you've got approximately the same crime rate that we do?
Yeah.
And
actually worse.
Yeah, and if it's true that Grants Pass police force is now fully funded and just doing great, then why isn't there 86, 85% to 15%, and all the rest of the county, why isn't that dropping down to 80, 82,
Right.
50? Why isn't
it's
it
actually gone up, not down?
No, wait a minute. Their own statistics. Well, we're not reporting. Grants Pass doesn't say it's not reporting stuff. Their own statistics are indicating that this apparently isn't a success. Aren't we supposed to see some results?
Well,
You don't ask for results. What's the matter with you, Mr. Matthews? You obviously don't understand economic development.
this is a really good point. You know, they always, whenever you tell them that these are the statistics, well, they say the statistics are wrong because the sheriff isn't getting not all the crimes are being reported. They are in the city. You know, and there has been no, I mean, why would someone not call the cops in the city? Why would they not do that? Why would they not report crime in the city? So, you know, 85% of the crime statistic is certainly accurate. You know, are we to assume that people who call the cops are thinking, well, you know, that guy ultimately isn't going to, you know, go through the system, so I'm not even going to call the cops? I don't know about that. I would have to.
I don't believe that. It's like
Yeah,
the guy who had that cement in his hand and he was bashing somebody's head with it. Why, let me think here for a second about law enforcement. Oh, I think I'll keep bashing. He's not thinking about that. He's not thinking about anything except killing somebody.
Yeah, I was just wondering, you know, I mean, if somebody's, you know, making a decision as to whether or not to call 911, are they considering, you know, if the cops are going, because the cops in Grants Pass, they come, they apprehend people, they do make arrests. You know, it's not like they're not doing that. You know, some of these people may be cited and released, and that's gets us into a whole other topic. Like the DA is funded. Okay, so
Yeah,
that
stop
only
telling us that the DA, we heard this again just last week. Well, the DA doesn't have enough hours. Hey, the DA says that he's fully funded.
He's fully funded and fully staffed. So okay, so you've got the cop end of it. That's handled. You know, they're fully funded and they got a 4-minute response time. Don't argue with me about that. That's the stat. Everybody goes, they don't have a 4-minute response time. Listen, that's what the OSP says, and that's what is being reported to the OSP. So take it up with them. So then you have you got the DA. And they're taking up so now it's only the jail. But wait a minute, you got all this extra money. You got this extra money because we're taking less people, and you're still paying them $1 million a year. Why? I know we're not running out of jail beds,
No,
because you know, I mean,
but
we're
they're
running
paying for them. Those are the 3 legs of the stool.
Yeah, there's some dirty dealings that you will never ever know the specificity about
Unless you get somebody in there. That's right.
I don't even know if you'll know then, because then you got to penetrate the bureaucracy of the sheriff's department. And how's that going to happen? You're going to come, well, here, Sheriff, I'm here to second guess your operation. And, you know, then he's going to, no, that's I really don't know how that would work. What you need is to start with a sheriff who it has the same sort of thinking, you know, like efficiency over bureaucracy, you know, getting the job done instead of these
Political,
you know, yeah, right. The union, you know, type of way of doing business. I don't know. I'd like to be more hopeful, but yes, they are indeed trying to get us to not. They're trying to, get into a situation where they don't need us to vote for anything, where they can just impose it upon us. And with this 18 months might buy them to just the prize that they want with the $2 bill. The $2 bill, I mean, they'd be really happy about that. Of course, it wouldn't be a year before they said, well, you know, I mean, $2, that's just getting going here. You know, we obviously need more than that. That's, you know, we were really, really below par. Now we're just up to barely rudimentary levels. And now we need $4. Right. We need $4 a thousand, really, is what we need.
Well, with the sheriff and with the finance director of both the city and the county, the question is, are you getting transparency? Are you getting honesty? Well, here's a section with Keith Eck and Cheryl Walker talking to the Grants Pass City Council. And here's Keith and his version of transparency.
I will never promote a tax, property tax, sales tax. I personally, as a commissioner, will never support that. I supported the first one back in January right after we got elected, and it went down into flames. Okay, learn my lesson, good deal. I just look dumb, I'm not stupid. It has to be generated by the people that are going to be asked to pass the tax. If that can be generated by them, what in the world advantage would it have if I or the Board of Commissioners leads the death march, because that's all it's going to be?
I'm not averse to giving it the old college try by any means, because everybody here realize that something has to be done. There is no more paring back other than some draconian slicing that takes place.
Like we've never done before.
Yeah, well, sure.
I think, and we also need to map out the scenario of what it looks like in July of 17, based on what we know right now. If this doesn't, this is what will likely happen.
Yeah, and I think that would be part of the development of the data that you're coming up with too, Commissioner.
And we know date certain that it is.
We know date certain.
Yep.
We know date certain. Wow. Yeah, I sure want a little bit more information about that from Simon Hare. You got a piece of paper?
You've asked for it. Certain. He's not giving it to you. Yeah. Okay, so then the bottom line, there's lots of ways to look at this. I mean, that was a lie. That was an obvious lie. Okay, so and it was turning his back on what he had promised to everybody. And it's like at the weekly business session where he gets very angry with people. Watch when people get very angry, because they were just chuckling lightly to themselves. I couldn't even pick it up on my camera when Keith Eck said, well, we've got nothing to do with these levies, and he just had a purple cow. Well, they hate being caught like that, okay? And so now the question is, when you have candidates, because that's what we're talking about tonight, who make promises to you, oh, this is what I'm going to do. I personally feel that anyone who's on that borderline, don't go there, because it's bad enough when they say, as Keith Eck did, absolutely not. But when they say, well, I'm kind of, leaning toward it and maybe not, it might as well be just completely on the other side.
This is the difficult thing that happens when you become a commissioner. You can say anything you want before you become a commissioner, but once you become a commissioner, then you're subject to a whole new slew of pressures that never ever happened to you before when you were a private person. Right. The staff is working you all the time. The other commissioners who may be pro-levy are working on you all the time. And that was a great piece from Keith Eck in the city council during their monthly meeting. That was the November 30th meeting as well, wasn't it, Dale?
It was, yes, sir.
It was. So now what you'll see there, if you watch some more of that meeting, I highly recommend going there and seeing it, is the entire city council is writing the commissioners to, you got to do something, you have to do something, you have to save us from the public safety fiscal emergency that's on its way. you know, and the mayor was just, I mean, he's almost like in tears and, you know, worshiping at the feet of Cheryl Walker and wanting her to save them from, you know, the end. And
if you don't do it, Cheryl Walker, and Dan DeYoung was right there with him. If you don't do it, the next commissioners will not.
Yeah, right. And yeah, like they won't be able to or something.
No, because the next commissioners are going to ask the people. These guys are not going to ask the people. And so if you ask the people, people are going to tell you what they think. So, City Council doesn't want to do that. They had just lost the sales tax initiative, you know, where nobody had anything to say that made any sense against it. Right. And they believed that. That's what they convinced each other, that nobody did. They're not asking us anymore. They've had it up to here. No more votes.
Yeah. They now, if you'd seen what, you know, Keith Eck had to put up to with up until that point, it's amazing that he even said what he did there. But once he got back in the, you know, in the little back room and started taking pressure from Cheryl, Cheryl's the driving force behind this thing. I mean, you know, I think that Simon has said, well, I'm not running again. So he's almost in the same situation as Cheryl is, but not quite. I think Cheryl's a little bit more adamant about this thing. She wants to be the person that rides to the rescue of government funding. And so that's what's happening here. But so that's the pressure that you're going to have to deal with. And you can, it's easy for you to say now, as you're listening to this program, oh, that's not that big a deal. Yeah, it is. Because it's all the time. It's incessant. It's, you know, and you're in a different circle. Some of these people become your friends. You know, you may find that when you get in there, you're yucking it up with Arthur O'Hare, and he's just a great guy. And so, you know, your thinking in that department is going to want you to be a little bit more amenable to his suggestions. And so these are difficult things, and you have to pull yourself out of that, find some objectivity, and, you know, get back in touch with the people that you're trying to serve and do what they're, you know, what they want instead of, you know, the people in this environment, and which is difficult because you're immersed in that environment. You don't re-immerse yourself in the public environment. Most people get into the bubble, and that's where they stay until they're out. You know?
So if you've got candidates now, and we do, that are right on that borderline, and I ask them straight out, should we put you on that fence? Should we say that you're on that fence? And one of the people that says so, breaks my heart, is Bill Hunker. He says, yeah, I'm on the fence when it comes to property taxes. I could see it maybe happening a year and a half, which is exactly what SOS has in mind. And I asked Lily Morgan, I said, now, Lily, you've seen the chart that we put up, and I've got you on that fence, on that borderline. Is that accurate? I don't want to put up something that's, and well, yeah, that's accurate. Now, if you're on the borderline, let me try to lay this out more clearly. I like Lily Morgan. I like the stand that she took about the sales tax. Mm-hmm. But Lily Morgan has been pressing for, I'm not running against Lily Morgan, but she's been pressing for property taxes from the beginning. She works for the county, although she's a city councilor. And she works in law enforcement. All of her biggest backers are super strong levy supporters. Now, what does that tell you? If she's saying to you, well, you know, I'm on the borderline, and then there are people that are backing her with support and money and everything else, and they're all super strong levy supporters, they're not doing that just because, well, it's Thursday. And no, they're doing it because they're sure that they're going to get their money's worth. There's just no way around that.
Okay. All right. Well, let's say that, you know, your supposition is true there. How is it then that she can go to these meetings and say that, you know, now that I'm over at the county, I see, you know, I mean, things are going to be a little bit different. The people in the city always go for the property tax increases, and the people in the county don't. And this is going to be a little bit different thing because, you know, my constituency is a little bit different. How is it that she can have that way of thinking if and satisfy these people that you say are backing her? I don't. Well, and I don't know. I mean, I don't have the list of names. You know, I mean, if you know who these people are, feel free to blurt it out.
One of them is Roy Lindsay. Okay, now, and you know, I don't know if two. And I also,
I mean, he may be backing her with moral support, but is he backing her financially?
That I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know. There's no real way to find out at this early stage. But I also know that she's a big, strong proponent of Dan DeYoung. Do you have any doubt where Dan DeYoung stands on not only his relationship with the people and with people being able to vote and with the city council's the Dan DeYoung?
Generally speaking, listen, I'd be lying if I mean you've seen the show and seen my criticism of Dan DeYoung before he became a candidate, and so you know what I think. I think that yeah, I think he's wired not he's not wired in the way of thinking that that I think that we would probably prefer to have in there.
When I was asked by the other candidate to put together this letter to the governor, there were two people that universally everybody said, well, those two people won't sign this. Nobody guessed David Martin. We didn't know who the guy was. He's the only one that out overtly said that he wouldn't. Bill Ertl said, well, yeah, Mehdi never did, he never did, and he never did. He got 3 chances. He just didn't do it. I at least respect David Martin for saying straight up what he felt instead of just kind of avoiding it. But there were 2 people that just pretty much everybody said, oh, no, they're not going to sign it. And one was Lily Morgan, and the other one was Dan DeYoung. Well, Dan DeYoung's never going to sign that thing to the governor.
And they did, and they both signed it, right?
They both did. Now, so then the question to you is, similar to what just happened with Keith Eck, is when you hear them say something flat out, can politicians be trusted?
And that's really, listen, we're all making that judgment about every single candidate running. I mean, that's the trick, isn't it? Is picking these guys, and we all come down making a judgment, and sometimes we're rarely are we voting for somebody. Usually we're voting for somebody who's just a little less bad than the other person.
Yeah, that's right. Yes.
I was hoping with 17, 18 candidates that we were going to have the best of choice, and I'm not laying anything out. I'm not making any statements about that at this point. Maybe I think, you know, I mean, it's a fairly decent group, a diverse group. So we have, we'll know a little bit more about this, you know, after the primary's over, and we see that the 2 on each side that we're stuck with. Then that's when you start coin flipping and you know, needing to dig a little bit deeper into these people's psyches. But
well, very similar to what happened with the Oregon Government Ethics Commission. We were not allowed to sit in, although we're media, we're not allowed to sit in on the executive sessions. And so the only way to tell if there was anything untoward going on was to pore over the records of what they talked about, because you can't see anything else. And so based on that, it's kind of like a strange physics experiment where you kind of see this planet that's, I mean, the sun's slightly moving and then maybe there's a planet surrounding it. It's very strange. But we came to the right conclusion, according to the Oregon Government Ethics. Well, nobody's found us guilty. Yeah, why did they say that you were deliberately making people think you were doing one thing when you're doing something else? What was the guise, G-U-I-S-E? They said you were using this as a guise. That's pretty inflammatory language from the Oregon Government Ethics Commission.
Yeah, it's fairly definitive too, and I think
didn't have any direct evidence. But
We'll
we
just
were
get the news, and I think it'll be January of next year after these people left office, what
probably.
their sanction is, and that, or at least after the election.
So we have to guess again. I'm using this as an example, maybe not the best example. But we have to guess. Guilt by association? Yeah, sometimes that's true. We have to guess. Look, you're a part of law enforcement. You've always voted for it in the past. All your biggest supporters are super big levy folks, and your favorite buddy is someone that's a super big levy guy. Now, what does that say? Well, maybe that means yeah, but it's indicating. And when I ask, are you on the fence? Yes, I am. Well, what does that mean? It means she's on the fence. At the very least, that's what it means. Okay, so go to what happened yesterday. You know that out, if you know anything about Grants Pass, at the Parkway and M Street, there's a wonderful big expanse where
Big empty lot.
yeah, a lot of people go around that, and traditionally has a bunch of different signs on it.
That's
Well,
right.
it changed yesterday, and now there's 2 signs for 2 commissioner candidates. Who owns that property? See, it's not enough just to take a picture of it. Who owns that property? Well, that property is owned by Ward Ockenden. Ward Ockenden is a big Simon Hare supporter. So if you say, I love Simon Hare, then great. There you go. There's your guy, Ward Ockenden. Ward Ockenden, aside from Mark Kelsey, who was responsible, I'll try to not have a big blowtorch here, but Mark Kelsey was the #1 person responsible for seeing that Simon Hare was not recalled in this last recall effort.
That's true.
Yeah, he's the guy.
Yeah, that's
because
fair.
he said that he was going to run it, and then he didn't run it. He ran it to the ground. But what did he end up with? He ended.
If
Now,
you
just one
want to
second.
toast that a little hotter, I'm okay with it, because that
Okay.
guy there has pretty well earned whatever rating he's getting out of this deal.
What did he end up with?
Nothing.
Oh, brother. Oh, yes, he did. He ended up with a long list of people's names, phone numbers, addresses that don't like Simon Hare.
What is he going to sell that off as an enemies list or something like that?
I don't like the idea that this character has that list.
Yeah.
He's the only one with it that we know of.
Yeah. Okay.
I don't like that. Okay, but the person that opposed the first time that Simon Hare could at least been on the list to be recalled. Do you recall Do you remember what had happened that first time around? Well, that was the Deacons thing where it was the 6th person that had come to me, and he was sex texting young women that he didn't know. Okay, and so there was a thought. Well, maybe. How can he get away with this? He's the Teflon, the young prince, and let's. And Ward Ockenden was the main person who did not want Simon Hare to be recalled. Ward Ockenden, who owns this property. Okay, so I drove by that property today, and buddy, here's what I saw.
Well, listen, I think we all knew that there was a team, connection there, Hunker and Rice. That's not a.
Property is it?
Okay, so okay, so let's say that
What's his political affiliation?
Okay, yeah. Oh, he's a what? Because he was a Simon Hare supporter. Now, I mean, this
how
is
far away.
Okay, but listen, you may find a little bit of differing with me on this sort of thing. I think sometimes people can make mistakes. I understand why people made the mistake about Simon Hare, because Simon Hare can talk up a blue streak, and he knows how to speak intelligently on a number of different things. And so they thought because he speaks and he understands the ONC Act and a bunch of the things that are going on there, he's committed to rote memory, that somehow he would be the best representative because other people don't know what the hell's going on in that organization. I understand how people fall for that. I think they're wrong about Simon Hare. Sure, he knows all that stuff, but has he done a damn thing? Hell no.
Okay,
You know,
little
it's-
talk with Mike here. Mike,
Okay.
I understand your point entirely, but you're 180 degrees out of phase. And what I'm
okay.
saying is because Ward Ockanen started out not liking Simon Hare,
Mhm.
and then he moved over into liking Simon Hare.
So and now that he's in the I like Simon Hare camp, does that mean that Rice and Hunker are the same as Simon Hare?
Obviously, nobody can say that except for those
Right.
two gentlemen. But similar to the thing that's happening with Lily Morgan, why is it then that one of your big supporters really loves Simon Hare?
Well, now wait a minute. Just because somebody loves Simon, would you put Bill Hunker and Simon Hare in the same? I mean, we know Bill Hunker.
Yes.
Would you say that those guys are the same? I
No.
wouldn't say they're the same.
No, I
You know,
wouldn't.
and so
he's gonna expect
what's the
something.
point?
He's going to accept something from these two gentlemen.
Uh,
And what does he expect? Is he a fool, or is he
that's a
putting
good question.
his support in the right place? I don't
Well,
know.
Right. And we don't know. I mean, what did Ward Ockanen expect from Simon Hare?
Right.
You know,
Well,
you know,
Got fairly good
and-
evidence about that. That's for another show.
oh, okay. Well, yeah,
Financial
papers
dealings
or
with the
something?
county. Okay,
Oh,
financial.
I see.
the county.
Okay. Right. And I could see where you're trying to, set that up in the future. Listen, this is the dirty part about politics. One would hope that, listen, I don't want any, and I'll tell you what.
I like Bill Hunker.
If you're somebody who's going in there now and you have any plans to make any kind of dealings with anybody that you're even slightly affiliated with, you're going to get blasted with both barrels here.
Yeah.
This
That's
is
business as usual.
yeah, and that does not fly, not in this election year. So if anybody, if all of a sudden one of your friends is starting to you're starting to court that person for county projects, that's a big no-no. That's a big no-no. So anybody affiliated with Bill Hunker, anybody affiliated with Joseph Rice, anybody affiliated with anybody who is now going to be doing something and getting paid by the county, that's a no-no.
Well, here's what I said to
no-no.
people that said to me, maybe I'd like to, I can only say it from my point of view. Maybe I'd like to give you a hand. I said, okay, but I need to make sure that you understand if I get elected, and sorry, only if I get elected, you're going to get all your money back. Oh, no, that's okay. No, you're going to get all your money back. All of it. So they're not buying anything.
Yeah, that's the fair way of doing it. And I'm just hoping to get some representation here. I don't want there to be, a couple of people who get a better shake than everybody else because of who they supported for commissioner. That's not good. I don't want
Well,
that.
I can tell you what, if a couple of people get in there, whoever they are, and they start looking at these loans and these grants that have been given out from economic development, the folks who got those, they had better put together a huge war chest to stop those people, because there will be ramifications, whoever they are, where they're going to say, okay, just got a simple question. It's not radical, just a simple question. Have you paid back your loan? Now, we know the chief financial officer, Rosemary Paget, said in an open public meeting, I've been told not to follow through on that. Well, it's the end of that, buddy. The end of that. So I think that in some ways, Dan DeYoung was right. The people have their hand out. They still have their hand out. Yeah, but it's not the electorate that has their hand out. It's the moneyed interests. It's the people where it's business as usual. It's certain clubs in town, and you know what I mean. There are certain people and certain locations that have been just lining up for the money, And this will mean, this is really going to hurt them. This means that spigot's going to be turned off, and plus somebody's going to be looking into it. They can't tolerate that. Can you imagine? I mean, the whole thing about the governor, they know, oh, now we like the governor. Yeah, because they didn't like it before because the governor was going to send a task force down here to find out how the money was being spent. Oh, that's the end of that, boy. We're never going to allow that. Now that that's been taken off the bill, oh, well, that seems pretty good. It all depends on what kind of government you want. You've got a dozen candidates who, one, either don't have any idea what's going on a daily basis, a weekly basis, a monthly, they don't know. Okay, so 9 months down the road, you're going to find out who those people are. Maybe they'll figure out something. And then you've got the people who want the system to stay as it is. And so if you want the system to stay as it is, why, there's a handful of people you should never vote for. Yeah, because there will be some changes. It doesn't need to be crazy changes. I think of it as common sense, but one of them would be, where's that money going?
I'm in the crazy change camp.
Well, I tell you, buddy, that there are opportunities, but that could possibly spell the end, or at least the beginning of the end, for that system. And that's why those people should be pulling out all the stops to put an end to this right now, because they're almost there. They're almost at the spot. You can see that light. It's almost at the spot where they will no longer have to depend on votes by the unwashed electorate. Where all they have to do, like the city council is doing on an increasing basis, like we see happening with secret meetings, the door closed and locked of the grants of the county commissioners. Some of them can see what's coming down the road, and they're going to have to stop it, or truly going to be the end for folks like Rotary Radio. That's just not going to work.
I think they're banking on 3 years down the road, and then the implementation of the $2 bill, and then that takes them 5 to 7 years down the road before they can before they need to jump on with another levy, and they'll figure almost a generation has passed and people will have forgotten all about it, and it'll be prime time for fundraising again. I think that's
plenty of things that commissioners can do. I've heard many times, because there's only two candidates to say we're going to follow the local constitution and only take the amount that the people said that you could take as salary. Well, Keith Eck has said, I think I'd like to make less money. And we've heard one other candidate, I would take less money. But there's a rule, of course, put on by Salem, saying you have to take the entire amount of money. Oh, well, I guess I'll just have to take it all, says Keith Eck, because I'm sure not going to pay the taxes. Well, there are two candidates who say, I will take the money, I will pay you'll pay the taxes, and I will keep only $30,000. That's what the charter says.
Now,
only two.
However, tonight, though, if you were watching the earlier part of the program, Harris said she's only keeping 20% of her salary, and the rest is going to get distributed to nonprofits, which is essentially the same thing as what Dale and Raymond Smith are saying. But
I didn't mention names, but I did talk to her about that, and I said, "Well, what about the taxes? Taxes?" I said, "Yeah, what about the taxes?" "Oh no, I'll only accept that amount, and I won't accept any more." And I said, "No, you may have to accept all of the money." Really? And then pay the taxes on it. Well, she didn't know that, and I can't blame her for not knowing.
Well, and I don't know what the difference would be. So you end up ultimately giving less to the nonprofits than you would have because you're having to pay taxes on it. But that's
this is the argument Keith has. He says he's going to take the entire amount, and he's not going to pay the tax. Well, he would have to pay the taxes, but he's not going to pay all those taxes and then keep a lower amount. He's not going to do it. He always could have. Heck, Sandy Casanelli could have done that. And she was a commissioner. She didn't do it. Any of these people could have. Simon Hare ran on the idea he wasn't going to take PERS. And then after he was in for 4 years and he was facing his 5th year, he said, I'd like to be retroactively enrolled in PERS. Oh, okay, said the other two. Yeah. But here's the power. The power is an easier example, in my opinion, is citizens can't put an advisory question on the ballot. That's a state law. It's stupid state law, I think, but that's easily overcome by the right commissioners who would say, oh, okay, state law, great. We're going to follow state law here because we swore to that Constitution as well. But what we're going to do is you bring us your thing you want an advisory ballot, we'll see that it's done. Oh, yeah, well, it says on there that they went to court and say that the people who wanted to have a say about fees don't get any say on fees because the court says we don't have to do that. Two commissioners could say, we're going to do it anyway. What do you mean you're going to do it anyway? Yeah, that's what the citizens want. They can do that.
Yeah, and you know, the interesting thing about that is in the annotations, some of these annotations are not court rulings. That they are quoted case law that they believe, or that at that time county council Steve Rich believed let them off the hook on some of the things that they didn't want to be a part of the charter, and that's I don't think that those are solidly. That's not solid law. I mean, you can't say that it's invalid because of that, because they didn't, number one, the people didn't change it. And number two, it didn't get changed in the court. Now it may well have for this little piece on the fees there, but because of the snaky dealings, but none of the rest of the things that they negated with the annotations have had a legal judgment on them.
It was sneaky. And when Wally Hicks was, I'm frozen in fear. Okay. Yeah, bit, I'll come back any day now. Okay. And now's the day, I think. Okay. And so when Wally Hicks was still talking with regular citizens, even he didn't come right out and say it's sneaky, but he said, well, you know, some doubts about whether that's the right way to do things. That's right. There were doubts about that. So I've had many conversations with at least 3 of the candidates, and I've had them say to me, yeah, but, you know, perhaps the charter needs to be changed. Well, see, the commissioners can't do that. That has to be initiated by the public. And I personally feel the public doesn't really mean, you know, some SOS members who are part of city government and also part of county government that's pretend like they're no. Okay, so that has to go on the ballot. But while the long-term permanent solution sounds familiar to that is that you would go in and you would, you know, put it up to the people would put it up to you. I got to say that right, to change the charter. What you can do is you can say yes. That's the rule. That's the rule that Steve Rich made up, or that's the rule that came down from a court, or a rule from Salem. But the commissioners can do it anyway. There's your power. So if you don't have the long-term solution, you've got a very powerful short-term solution just for 4 or 8 years, which is those commissioners could say, we're going to do the will of the people. Oh no, we can't allow that. What, the will of the people? Why? No, you must stop. Appropriate for today, yes. I think. You must stop. There's your solution. Yeah. See, that was a very light barbecue.